Minister, last week the French Navy made contact with the Irish government, stating they were carrying out a military exercise off the south coast. This is the second time, I'd say, in a few months that a government from another country has contacted our own country to tell them they were carrying out military exercises within Irish waters, our own territorial waters. Now, we're not sure, Minister, maybe you can tell us today, is this French military exercise put off permanently? Is it put off for a few days, or is it just being put a few feet outside our own, I suppose, territorial waters?
Thank you, Minister.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, Deputy, we have been in contact with our French counterparts on this issue, and we've got assurances from them that there would not be any French vessels in the Irish EEZ during these exercises. But I think it is important to make very clear what's Irish territorial waters and what's the Irish EEZ, which involves international waters that Ireland is responsible for, because they are two different things. Ireland's territorial waters extend up to 12 nautical miles from our shore. Ireland exercises sovereignty within our territorial seas, subject to the relevant rules of international law. Military vessels of other states may not conduct exercises within territorial sea except with ministerial consent, and diplomatic clearance procedures is in place to consider requests for such permissions, but such requests are very rare. And this was not a request to come into Irish territorial waters. This was a notification that happened to the Irish Aviation Authority in relation to the potential for exercises off the coast of France to actually impact on a small portion of Ireland's economic zone, or EEZ as it's called. There's a big difference between those two things. We have, as we've done previously, expressed concern about military exercises taking place within our EEZ, which countries are entitled to apply for, and it's not a breach of international law or anything, and we are not entitled to refuse them without good reason in terms of the EEZ, which is different to territorial waters. But in this case, the relationship with France is particularly good, and we have obviously spoken to the French authorities in relation to this, and I'm happy that they came back to confirm that there would not be any French vessels inside our EEZ, and certainly not inside our territorial waters in relation to those exercises.
Mr. Governor. Deputy Collins.
Thank you, Minister, for the clarity. But, it is a major concern to the Irish fishermen that these activities are increasing as such from other countries here. It's a danger, as I said, to our fishermen's lives, their incomes, because in some areas they may have to move out if there is disruption to their fishing activities. Their incomes have been struck down so hard in the last number of years. They cannot take another hit, but they are being expected to take another hit. Obviously, the cost of fuel now too is another massive issue for fishermen out there, and they're finding it massive prices for basically for survival. And we'll say the Russians a few months ago, the French coming along now. How many more are expected to come into or maybe try and surround our territorial waters and carry out their military activities? Is this a new move from other countries, Minister, or is this something that has been happening over the past number of years announced to the Irish people?
Thank you, Deputy Minister.
No, Deputy, this isn't that common, but it does happen. What happened here was, and it's not unusual, the Irish Aviation Authority have been informed of the exercises via standard procedures, and the Department of Transport actually has also issued a marine notice to this effect. But as a close partner, the government has remained and will continue to remain in close contact with French authorities for the period ahead. But look, can I just compliment the Irish South and West Fishermen's Organisation? I think their involvement in terms of being highly vocal, raising the concerns of fishermen and of course of environmentalists as well in terms of marine ecosystems linked to military exercises in the open sea, I think has been very welcome. And I want to thank them for that. And I think they have raised the profile of this issue in a way that I think has been very helpful.
Thank you,
but I can assure you that we have also been busy in terms of our diplomatic channels, not just with France in this instance, but with other countries as well in recent months.
Deputy Collins.
Thank you, Minister. And as you say, it's not common, but at the same time, in the last few months, it's happened twice. And the first time, and you're right in your praise for the Irish Southwest Fishermen's Group, have been very vocal, I suppose, on behalf of their fishermen, and rightly so, their livelihoods and their safety at sea. But also, they've been, speaking about the dangers in relation to marine life, the fish, dolphins and whales, and the danger to the environment and our neutrality. We are meant to be a neutral country. It looks like these activities are being stepped up within our waters, or the request to have that happen within our waters. And just one question I don't think you answered is, has the French military exercise been put off permanently? Has it been put off for a few days? They were trying to bring it ahead. A couple of days ago we were informed. Or is the activity, as I said, completely put off the agenda for now, or has it just moved a few feet outside our territorial waters?
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Your final reply.
I mean, the answer to your last question, Deputy, is that that's a matter for France, to be honest. My job is to be well informed in relation to what's happening within our own EEZ and our own territorial waters. But it's really a matter for France in terms of their own security exercises and so on outside of that. But military exercises or manoeuvres are traditionally recognised as being a part of the freedom of the high seas, as captured under Article 87 under the United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS as it's called. These rights are transcribed directly into the exclusive economic zones of coastal states. Under international law, including UNCLOS, states are entitled to carry out naval exercises in another state's EEZ. It's not unusual for naval ships or vessels of other states to carry out training exercises within the Irish EEZ or to passage through this area. This is not in any way an infringement on our international territory in terms of international law. While foreign ministers are not obliged in most cases to inform the coastal authorities of their proposed activities, the Naval Service has collated some data in relation to encounters with foreign navies in the Irish EEZ over the last number of years. So we're watching closely, but nothing that has happened over the last number of months is a breach of international law. But it's because of the good relations and the diplomatic relations that we have that sometimes we can change the direction of a decision from another country.
That concludes